And I think there's a snobbishness with reading books. They are a bit outdated. They're a little bit like playing the spoons and tap dancing and the theatre. They were good once, but things have moved on.
The head's not quite on the right place. That's his little issue that he's got to work on for the moment.
My apartment smells of rich mahogany.
Look, I'm all for innovation, and I advocated putting a scrum half in the line out. It sounds great, but it's bollocks idea, really.
Hello and welcome to Under the Sticks, a podcast brought to you by Pro 14 Rugby, where we, as always, attempt to deliver half-baked opinions served up as real rugby analysis. Kieran Crowley's in shot. He will help us with that. My name's Andy McGeady. We're going out live on the Pro 14 social channels, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. We will see the comments come in during the show. I'm looking forward to it already. Michael Jenkins, first in. I don't know how he does this, but from Pembrokeshire, West Wales, they must have a direct line into our internet. It's very, very impressive. We have Sean Holley. We have Paul Williams, super producer Adam Radden's in the background. We will get to the highlights from the last weekend. But firstly, Kieran Crowley, coach of Benetton for not much longer, coach of Italy Rugby to be. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Thanks for the invite.
It's good. I'm going to set you up here very quickly because one of the most important things about you being here is an award which you're getting from Loch Lomond Whiskies. You are the coach of the month for April and May. Benetton have had a hell of a run. I mean, what a turnaround from 0 for what I'm calling the regular season, the Rainbow Cup. You've been blowing people away. How does it feel?
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. You know, you obviously, you know, when you win, everything's rosy, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of context, I think, to the Pro 14 season, which you know, affected our performances, and you know, since we've you know, we had a few bounces go our way in the first game against Glasgow, and the boys got a bit of confidence, and you know, they've kept doing that for the last 3 games. So yeah, they're on a little bit of a roll and build a bit of excitement. So yeah, it's good.
It's been really good to watch because we've been following Benetton over the last couple of years. You've talked to us before in the show. You talked to Sean. You've talked to Adam previously. This year was disappointing, and the kind of energy that we see in the team. I know Paul's been very, very excited by how Benetton have played. Yeah. So, I mean, Paul, I'll turn it over to you because you're a resident Benetton fan. How's this working for you?
And I'm now the resident scrummage expert as well because the South African teams are on board. Look at Sean's face. But the scrummage on the weekend was incredible. You managed to convert, I think it was 7 scrum penalties that Connaught gave away, which is an incredible amount.
Yeah, it is. I mean, yeah, I don't know a lot about that side of the game. You know, I just moan at our scrum coach if it doesn't go well, and then just pat him on the back if it's gone okay. But yeah, the boys, we've had a lot of issues in that area, I suppose. They've worked really hard at it, and you know, on the weekend, you know, we were lucky enough to get a couple of calls probably went our way. You know, because sometimes, you know, they can be 50-50 calls, and you know, we were able to maximise that, I suppose, on other occasions. You know, what we do have is we have some pretty short props who get really low, and I think some teams are having a bit of a problem with that. You know, and they're strong in those positions, and you know, long may it continue.
Kieran, what's been the fundamental difference between this Rainbow Cup form that you've got, the belief that's in the team, and obviously what was a difficult season, apart from the obvious, you know, the injuries, international call-ups? Has there been anything you've been working on, or what's been the difference?
Oh, no, I think, yeah, there's been a lot, like I said, there's been a lot of context. You know, you can go into things like, you know, COVID's affected everyone, but, you know, Italians are very much, the culture of the Italians is very much family and very much, you know, around a dinner table and a meal table, and through that whole COVID thing, you know, I know other teams weren't able to do it, but we weren't either. I think it affected the Italian culture a fair bit. I think if you look also at, you know, both Benetton and Zebre, as well as Edinburgh and Glasgow. You know, we all struggled in Pro 14 because we only have 2 teams feeding a national team. You know, you lose 20 players to a national team, and you used to be able to get 5 of those back on a Saturday because they weren't involved in the 26 or whatever. But you weren't able to this year because of the bubbles that they were in. And, you know, and the autumn series went on for longer, and then they were longer together in Six Nations because we're making up games. So, you know, there's a lot of context in that. I made a few mistakes, I think, in my management of certain things. You know, changed a little bit around some of the things I've done in the last sort of month, 6 weeks. I sort of sat back a little bit, I think, once I sort of knew I was going, which they told me very early on that, you know, I sort of stepped back a little bit to try and let the other guys get in. And I think, you know, I think that was a big mistake of mine. And, you know, I've sort of changed that around a little bit in the last 6 weeks or so. And there's other things, you know, there's a lot of things that I think, you know, like I said, you got to get the bounce of the ball. We had 6 or 7 games in Pro 14. You know, we only lost in the last couple of minutes. And once you get a little bit of confidence, like we got after that Glasgow game, you know, the boys are built on it. And, you know, we've still got, you know, we can't look too far ahead. We just got to concentrate on our next game against Ospreys now.
Yeah. Do you know what really helps players kick on? When they're playing for the guy who's going to be the future national head coach.
Yeah,
I'd say that.
Yeah.
How's that sitting in the dressing room? The rumors were rife here in the comment section on this pod, my friend. I tell you that. Yeah. But how's that sitting in the dressing room for you?
Oh yeah, it's fine. I mean, you know, I knew way back in October or beginning of November, I think it was, that I was going this at the end of the year. And, you know, I was sitting with my wife about 6-7 weeks ago. We were planning on our trip back to New Zealand, you know, going through Canada to see a couple of kids and then back to New Zealand and possibly going back to milk some cows. And you know, there was a change in the leadership over here around the president, and I just got a phone call, and it sort of, you know, it was on and then it was off and then it was on again, and then it got you know, ratified, and it's all go. And, you know, I haven't seen it as a difference in the change room. I don't know, other guys might see it as different, but for me, no, it's just carry on as normal.
Right. How's it going to work with sorry, Sean, you go.
No, I was going to ask probably a similar question. Back in 2009, when Kieran was coaching Canada, I was part of the Wales coaching team. We went out to play Canada. But what will you have learned from that Canadian experience, Kieran, going back into international rugby now? What will you take?
Oh, I think you've got to. If I look at. You know, if I look at I think you've got to have a purpose to play for. I mean, let's be realistic. When I was coaching Canada, you're not going to win the World Cup. You know, you were not going to, you know, you were going to try and be competitive. You were going to try and be, you know, win the games that you were expected to win, and pick off some of the bigger unions, because, you know, over there you were an amateur sport. Italy's different. You know, you're a professional sport, but, you know, if you look at the Italian record over the last little bit, you know, in Six Nations and other games, you know, it's not great. And I think, you know, then you look at our program coming up, and 7 of our first 8 games are against the top 9 teams in the world. You know, our first game is the All Blacks, and then you go Argentina, and then you're into Six Nations, and Uruguay's popped in there. So, yeah, I'm not coming into, my experience or that I'm bringing probably is that I'm not coming in expecting to change the world. And as I said to the president when he asked me to do the job, I said to him, don't expect me to get your W's on the board, you know, straight away, or, you know, but what we got to do is we got to find a purpose that we're going to play for, you know. And I think the big thing that the Italians need to get back at the moment is a bit of respect and credibility. And you know, we might not win games, but I would hope that our performances against these big teams show that. So that's what we'll certainly be looking at trying to, well, I'll be trying to bring that sort of experience from my time with Canada into this environment.
Yeah. And I was just going to ask you how you feel about the planets aligning with the final being in Treviso, you with a very, very good chance of being in that final. It'll give you an advantage. Or it doesn't matter which one of the South African teams you've got. You'll have a reasonable crack at that at home.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, it's great. It's great that the final's here, and if we happen to get there, it'd be great. It'd be great for Italian rugby. It'd be outstanding. But one thing I've known with my time here in Italy, that when you get those situations put in front of you, or you have something, players, are probably not as experienced, don't handle that sort of pressure as well as they should.
Yeah.
So, I mean, our focus needs to be, and it'll be really spelled out to them when we come back in the next couple of days, that, there's no talk of that side of things. You've just got to focus on the process of our next game. And because, the moment you start looking ahead to that. But, to answer your question, it would be great if we got there, and it would be great for the players and all that. So, it's, we'll try, and we'll give it our best shot. And if that's good enough, it'll be good. We'll be have a few extra Proseccos and pasta and red wine and whatever.
Exactly. Just get on it. And I suppose the last two things I was going to mention then, because you, with Benetton and with Italy, you've got some really good young players under your stewardship. So in particular, Garbisi, who we seem to mention every 3 or 4 minutes on this podcast every week. Just how exciting he is, because he kicked really well on the weekend, didn't he? He had a couple of misses, but then collected himself and sort of saw the game out. What's it like having a 10 like that at your disposal?
Yeah, no, he's a top player. He works hard at his game. And he's very focused, and he's going to be a top international 10, I think, for a long time.
Yeah.
And there's some other good young players here in Italy too. What we probably lack a little bit at the moment is the experience and the size and the type 5 is one area that we really need to get more robust or more resilient around that. The guys who are in those positions are working hard at it, and but it's at any level, as Sean knows, and you all know that if you can't win the game in the front 5, your 10s, no matter how good they are, can't operate. So you've got to get that side of the game right first. But, there's some really good young boys. You've got Varney over in Gloucester as a 9. You've got Gavisi. There's a couple of other young boys here that go really well. But you've got to have that experience around them as well, because you get in the heat of the battle. You've got to have guys that have been there before and can calm things down and control things. So, the young boys will learn it, but it'll take time for them.
Yeah, and then I suppose you've got the youngsters in the pack. You were saying you need some players in the type 5. At national level, you'll have Fischetti at loose head, but then you've got Gallo now, who was amazing on the weekend. Like you say, a little bit shorter, got underneath. So you've got, especially Gallo. He really is one for the future.
Yeah, but he's been named in the Argentinian squad, wider training squad for Wales.
Of course, yeah. I forgot about that.
So he's a dual passport. So we'll see what happens there. I've already had a chat to him about it, but
I missed that.
So, Paul has some contacts in immigration in Argentina.
I'll get that sorted. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Listen, Kieran, on under the sticks.
Oh yeah, where you
go on, mate.
Where you go?
Well, I was just going to ask you about because Gaggio obviously is Gaggio. We love him, right? Because his contribution around it's apart from the scrum. Yeah, we get excited about like I do a team of the week. I picked him this week because his contribution outside of the scrum is something. And Fischetti is a bit like that, isn't he, for Zebre? So that's obviously something you're going to need at international level is your set piece, your fundamentals, your nuts and bolts. We know that as coaches, but the added value around the field, and it seems to me that's what you're getting from your Benetton side at the moment.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I don't think we played that flash on the weekend, to be honest. I thought we were a little bit inaccurate, but we are making some big plays, which has been effective for us. And a lot of our training is based around being able to to enjoy it and express yourself. And forwards, as you know, now forwards have to have the same sort of skills as the backs. I think we lead the competition. I think in offloads, for example, and a lot of those are coming from the boys up front. Trying to keep the ball alive. We've just got to make the right decision of when we try and do it or not. But yeah, the energy, as as a coach, if your team's winning, the energy is there, the excitement is there, and I've got to do a bit of a shout out here to the boys, who haven't been selected, because they've really contributed big time off the field and at the trainings and that, the last couple of weeks, and hopefully it can continue for the next couple.
I need to ask about the law trials that have been going on in this Rainbow Cup. So the 20-minute red card, the captain's challenge, and the goal line dropout. What's been your experience of them?
I don't mind the goal line dropout. I don't mind that one. I think you saw in the Reds Chiefs game on the weekend, you saw the value of the 20-minute red card. When Reds got way out in front, but then Chiefs got an extra man back and come right back. It kept the game exciting, I think. I'm not a fan of the captain's challenge. I think it slows the game down. I think you can find something wrong with just about everything if you actually challenged it. Because they slow everything down and it looks bad and everything like that. So I'm not a fan of the captain's challenge. I think that should go. But the other two, I'm not too concerned if they stayed on. That's where I see them at.
There's to the commenters, we will be talking about challenges later on, particularly when we get to the last bit of the Munster Cardiff game. It'll undoubtedly come up. There's been loads of people coming in with a lot of love, by the way, in the comment section for you. You really love putting in long names, folks. Crihor Daniel Dahi O'Cahill.
How nice that is.
You've done an incredible job, Kieran. Brought new hope and optimism for not only Benetton, but Italian rugby and the Pro 14 itself. I hope my Munster qualify, but if you make the final, the very best of luck. That's from Munster. That's very high praise. Ali Craig says he met you at the Glasgow Sevens a few years ago when he was a liaison officer and you were Canada's coach. You're a lovely guy. Ger Fitzpatrick, congratulations, Kieran. Hope you win at Ospreys and represent the Pro 12/14s against a South Africa side in the final. And John Smith, all the best, pal, from all of us at Hoylake. You are. There's a lot of people have a lot of time for you, Kieran. You come across really well, and I think people get that.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's my farming background. Soul to the earth sort of stuff.
Used to talking to a load of animals. Before we do let you go, we lost someone from our pod about 6 months ago. It's very emotional because Dean Budd had to go back to New Zealand. What was it like having Buddy in camp?
Yeah, he was good. I mean, he's an experienced player. He probably wasn't, for a professional rugby player, wasn't the hardest trainer you've ever come across. He liked. He wasn't probably your normal sort of second rower. He had a little pug dog, and he used to, got into the Italian fashion and all that. But no, he was, he's a really good guy and really good for a team spirit and team culture. And he had the captains, he knew how to lead a team, I suppose, is the best way to say. He's had a lot. He had a lot of experience. We've probably missed his experience. Through a period, particularly in this last year. So. No, he was good value. He had his little quirks and that, but he was certainly well loved member of the squad. And it was a shame that it worked out the way it did in the end.
Yeah, well, anyway, I haven't been in New Zealand before, so I'm actually just jealous he gets to go to New Zealand and travel and be in a plane. But anyway, Kieran Crowley, we'll let you go because you are here under the sticks, the winner of the Loch Lomond Whiskies Coach of the Month for April-May. We are told you're getting a bespoke bottle of Loch Lomond 18-year-old with plaque.
Posh one.
Yeah, that's the posh one. We're making do with the 12-year-old. It's very nice. Visit Loch Lomond Malts
It's
on
all
Twitter
gone. Hint, hint.
to discover the spirit within. Kieran Crowley, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Good luck,
Thanks,
Kieran. Nice
Kieran.
to meet you
Good luck,
too.
Thanks,
mate.
guys. Cheers.
Oh, what a nice man.
I was going to say almost exactly the same words. He's just a really nice bloke.
Yeah.
Like we've enjoyed talking to him before, he's just a nice dude.
He's a great bloke, yeah.
That was
What
great.
a nice
So
man.
we did sort of crash into the show fairly quickly. How are we? You all right, Sean?
Good, thanks. Well, yeah, I am good. Got a bit of a bad back.
Oh, tell me about it.
I played my first game of cricket on Sunday of the last 2 seasons, and I've only gone out there and put in a man of the match performance.
Here we go.
I know genuinely, and you know how much I love in my golf at the moment.
11
Well,
not
I
out.
sort of help out with my cricket team. I'm the president of my cricket team, and I turn up. I scored 79. I batted for an hour and a half. I bowled 8 overs.
79.
Yeah, I feel it for 40 overs. I run that guy out. It's the humble Holley hour. But the moral of the story is, when I get excited and I do rubbish like that, I got an old back injury and I've really stirred it up. So I'm in a bit of pain. I sort of soldiered through 18 holes today, as you can see by my face.
Oh, what a life. Isn't it?
Yeah, I only scored 31 points, which is not great, but that's the end of Holley Humble Hour.
Holly's humble hour.
Holly's diamond shoes remain too tight.
Yeah,
This time every week.
exactly.
Keep the humility going, Williams.
Yeah, Williams. How are you, Paul?
I'm good. It's my birthday today. I'm 44, not 54 for you pipe up, Ollie. 44 today. So, yeah, it's been nice, man. Really happy. Yeah.
Your birthday today?
I'm not big on birthdays because ever since the age of about 14, I've told people how old I am, and people look at me sort of worryingly, a bit like, "Oh God, what happened to you?" So ever since that age, I've never really mentioned how old I am.
This is good.
Apart from now, live to the nation.
That's good. So now, any scammers out there, have your date of birth. So don't give anyone your mother's maiden name in the next 40 minutes.
Yeah, or the name of my cat.
Now you're talking. But we did mention during Kieran's very interesting appearance there, the North versus South Rainbow Cup Final. We do have this. It was teased a little bit last week. You guys were being very bold. But Treviso Stadio de Monigo will play host to the Guinness Pro 14 Rainbow Cup Final on June 19th.
I want Benetton in that final.
I think part of us all do, and even it was really interesting to see in that Munster comment. A lot of people have a soft spot for Benetton, and I think especially it was such a rough season. But Kieran mentioned big plays there. We've talked about that before. They can go for the home run ball with that back three, and man, we'll get to that in the highlights. They played some really, really good stuff at the weekend. Rian Swanepoel, Bulls versus Stormers is going to be a cracker. We'll get to the games coming up because there's some crucial. We thought there were going to be a couple of knockout games last week. There are definitely some knockout games this week coming.
Yeah. So have either of you been to Treviso's stadium?
No.
Oh, it's it's a typical Italian stadium, but I think it's going to be a great place if we can get fans in there. I know that's a big if, but they've got like you can imagine you've got like oldie high massive concrete stands, so with almost just like big concrete steps, so loads of people can just sit there, in typically Italian styles. You can get lots and lots of people there. And I used to love it because it's quite open as well. It's not one of these sort of ridiculously confined, sort of really clean and tight stadiums. It's open, and so fans can sort of roam and enjoy themselves. I think it's a great idea. I just hope we can have fans there because they're quite close to the ground as well. So it'll be a great atmosphere. I'm
told 1,000 fans is the goal.
Oh, that'll be good.
That's enough. That'll do.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed how much noise 1,000 people can make compared to nothing.
Yeah, especially 1,000 Benetton fans.
Exactly, on the Vino Tinto.
It would be very, very good. Adam has something else to bring to the party, I think.
Oh yeah.
Jesus.
that bloke, Matt LeBlanc.
You've basically been going all day, Matt. friends Joey in a Benetton jersey is kind of it's what we need. It's
it
what
is.
we all need. We
So
are
he
all
got
Benetton rugby now.
he got photographed, didn't he, in this friends reunion?
Yeah.
He's obviously put a few pounds on, but some of his poses in the people have labelled him as the sort of former club rugby captain. You know,
In Ireland,
that,
that's the Welsh version. In Ireland, it's your friendly uncle who's around just
In
to
that
have the
shirt.
chats.
It's the shirt, it was, wasn't it?
It's the shirt. It's everything about it. We've all met.
Yeah.
We've met someone like that, like at the end of the night at in a residence bar at a wedding, or it is your
Yeah.
uncle, and it's just it's. Do you know
shirt
what?
from Benetton's.
There's Twitter can be an absolute cesspool at times.
yeah.
Joey, like middle-aged Joey, Twitter has been some of the greatest, warmest, kindest, funniest, coolest stuff. Calvin Henson at 50.
He'll never get that big, Henson.
He won't have a gut like that. That's for
No
sure.
way.
Ever.
Oh, he looks so happy. Right, let's get into some of the games. We lost one game from the weekend. We lost Ulster Scarlets, cancelled due to COVID outbreak. So a big win there on the road for Scarlets. Big whoop.
They needed that win.
Yeah, they did. So let's go from Friday. The Munster game. Munster 31, Cardiff Blues 27. This was an absolute squeaker. Sean, you were doing it on Premier. There was a lot of chat after this game, a lot. But there was some really good play.
Yeah, the Blues played really well. I mean, that change of support line from scrum half Thomas Williams, of course, Gareth Davis has got into the Lions squad ahead of him. He was obviously number one choice for a while till he got injured. But Jared Evans at 10, pulling the strings. They definitely have this in the first half in particular, all game actually, where they went for the front man. You know, you see a lot of the passes being pulled back now behind to the guy behind, the runners behind forwards or whatever. They definitely had a ploy. Richie Reese, the attack coach, would have seen an opportunity to go front line, and they really did worry Munster for a while until Munster got the grips and the Blues started to give away some penalties. That gave them field position, and then they scored 3 very quick tries. We're watching at the moment Niall Scannell, the hooker, who I really like. I think he's underrated. And now we're watching Scannell give it to Dale Landay, who Paul reckons is just a crash ball centre, but he's a little bit more than that. They used him in the line out as a bit of a decoy. If they were driving, Dale Landay was pushing in the middle of the mall. But then cleverly they switched him to the tail. And Scannell would go to him, and then he'd use his feet and power, and then Finnan Wycherley scores a try, and then Scannell gets another. So it was like bang, bang, bang from 10-0 down to just for half time, 3 tries in the bag, and it looked off all Munster. But then Jared Evans and Ben Thomas on this 10-12 axis, Seb Davis with his athleticism, Hallam Amos from 15 had a good contribution, Williams gets his second, and it's all of a sudden game on. And I don't know if you were watching this, but I was enjoying commentating on it clearly until the last 5 minutes, where we had a lot of the interventions coming in on the captain's challenge.
We're going to see the Haley incident in a little while, but the Jared Evans, that was reviewed for a little while. I know you're talking about not going front door and not doing the pullback pass. That pass definitely wasn't pulled back. I tell you that. It was what our Southern Hemisphere friends might call aggressively flat.
It was flat. And this was probably the play of the day. Josh Turnbull got it where he didn't need to have it, and does a speculatively show and go. And then before you know it, he's through, and Lloyd Williams, the replacement scrum half, was on his inside to score. So it was just great for Josh, because he's known as a bit of a workhorse, captains, stalwart, trustworthy guy. But then that was a magic bit of play. But that's what Munster do. They grind you down, and we're looking at the try now where a lot of replacements are on. They had a lot of fresh meat on. A lot of big ball carriers, and in the 75th minute, over they go. And you think that's there
again.
Yeah, Dale Landay was excellent. He does a lot of unseen things, mate. And then we had the sort of, I think there were 3 captain's challenges in the last minute or two. And Kieran Crowley, who we've just done on the New Italy coach, hit the nail on the head for me. It takes a lot of time and energy and saps out of the game. I wonder, had there been a full Thomond Park crowd there, how they would have reacted to all of those sort of to and fro-in, because captains will try it on in the last couple of minutes because they can.
Yeah.
Andrew Brace's arm is in the air.
This is the trick. This is the first one, isn't it?
So we're listening to now CJ Stander. It's the last play. The Blues got a penalty advantage, I think.
Blue 21, yeah.
And
is that out?
Unfortunately,
Lloyd Williams
and it
puts
doesn't
the
look
ball
good,
back into the ruck with his foot. Brace was adamant. CJ Stander was next to the ruck, so he saw it. And as the captain, issued the captain's challenge. It's a sanction. If you put the ball back into the ruck, it's a free kick sanction in the ruck law that you cannot put the ball back into the ruck. And he clearly does it, in my view, right? Now we can draw a line on the heel, the last feet of the guy at the end of the ruck. But his action is clear. He puts it back into the ruck. So and I think the lesson here is, if on a captain's challenge, is you've got to be squeaky clean in the last 5 minutes.
Right. So here's the thing, right? Because I was really interested because I didn't get to watch that live, so I watched it back, and I was really interested to get that last 5 minutes, because it's funny. There's a flow because of the number of challenges. There's kind of a flow to it in terms of the dynamic with the officials as well. And actually, the officials got everything right, but for my money, they got this one wrong, because that ruck is not the ruck where the penalty advantage was given, and that would have been the whistle decision. Therefore, I don't think that this was something that Munster
can't even look
challenge. Yeah, right. Exactly. So if it like, because Sean's nailed it. So because Sean is a coach, so he actually knows the law book much better than us. He knows that tapping the ball back into the ruck is under the ruck law, not the foul play law, which means it's not something you can just challenge.
That's not the issue you're on, is it? Like you say, the issue is in the interpretation of what the captain's challenge is, what it can be, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I think the officials rarely get the point of law wrong, right? But I genuinely think they between themselves and the TMO, they concentrated so much on what they were trying to what they were told to look for, instead of, are you actually allowed to look for that under the protocol? And I know we're splitting hairs, and you know what? I know part of the splitting hairs drives people crazy about this as well.
But you think back a couple of weeks ago, Ken Owens was dismissed for a captain's challenge in the last 5 minutes for the Scarlets on the very parameters that you're saying. Yeah. He questioned something, and I think it was Sean Gallagher said that's nothing to do with.
It wasn't a whistle decision, and it wasn't part of the foul play law. Therefore, you cannot review it. 100% correct. Yeah.
But I think the other difficult bit for us lay people who aren't coaches or former players, is that we're always taught with rucks and offside lines, it's almost the hindmost point of the foot, isn't it? That's what we have in our minds. And that ball was halfway out and halfway in. To my mind, that wouldn't have been offside because he wasn't behind the hindmost point of the foot. So I think it's like the perfect storm, isn't it, of three things that were up in the air, and I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, but that to me is a Cardiff Blues fan explanation. You've got to take it loyally. At the end of the day, right? He's got to use it for a start.
Yeah.
Okay. If that was at the base of a ruck for a box kick, then it's never that far out.
No.
Now, to me, that's fair game. And if I was CJ standing on the side, I'm saying, I'd ask the ref, is it out, ref? And anyway, if it is still in, Paul, why is Williams kicking it back in?
Well, that's the point. Yeah. Right? If it is still in, he wouldn't be worrying. Really.
He's almost admitting it's out by kicking it in.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
But there's a few things. I'm on record. I think it's worth trialing these things because we've talked about it before, and now we've seen it in action. We go, well, do you know what? Maybe now we got what we've asked for. Maybe it's not so good. Elements of it. I still think there'd be a place for it if you just restrict it more and not have because there's a lot of technical stuff in foul play that isn't dangerous play.
I think what's my takeout from it, and right, is that most of the time we're always moaning that rugby isn't refereed efficiently enough and that things are being missed all of the time. And if your team loses, you tend to point it out. No, they are all being pointed out, and it's driving everyone else mental.
Yeah.
So what we realise with this Captain's Challenge is that we don't want the game ref perfectly, because at the moment with the Captain's Challenge, it sort of is, bar the odd decision that's a little bit patchy. But we're picking up everything now, and it turns out that isn't what people want.
Well, do you know, it's actually, it's really interesting. Having the last 5 minutes different to the first 75 is not sitting well with me now. I'm seeing it in
That's
action.
right.
Having
Yeah.
two different standards in one game doesn't sit with me. Crowher Daniel Dahio Cahill comes in. I'm completely against the Captain's Challenge. It gives more power to the players and it can result in further disputes and controversy. As you guys have said, it can be done in the last 5 minutes of every single game. We really do not need that. It could turn into football with VAR.
Yeah.
Michael Jenkins is more succinct in his analysis. Scrap it.
See, now, doing that game and what we didn't see there, a couple of minutes before that, Munster had a Captain's Challenge on a so-called block or escort by Willis Halaholo on, I think it was Gavin Coombs, right? And it was deemed to be, yeah, you're right, but there was a more serious infringement. But the point I'm making is, there wasn't anything in that, right? Coombs never really made an attempt to tackle, but Munster, because they got that challenge right, kept their captain, retained their captain's challenge, which allowed Standard to do that at the end, and then we had all those shenanigans.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's so much in it, you know.
I must admit, I was very pro it when it started, and now I'm not.
It would need tweaking at minimum, I would say.
That's a very good description.
I'm very glad that in two different competitions we've tried it. What if 80 minutes says the producer only foul play related to player safety or try scored involvement? That's where I am. Foul play related to player system that's kind of the dangerous play element. I think that would simplify it.
If I'm honest, that's what I thought it was going to be. You know, when it started out, that is what I thought it would be, but it hasn't quite panned out.
So it was unfortunate because do you know what? A game like that, when you get that sort of ending, it's like when a try scored and you're going, is it a try, is it not a try? It does take something, you take the wind out of the sails a bit. But look, listen, we live and learn. Munster keep rolling, and they have been rolling with that win at Thomond Park and CJ Stander's last home game in a Munster jersey until he unretires someday and maybe comes back. Who knows?
Ends up with the Bulls.
Yeah. Before we move on, I didn't mention the Mike Haley thing. We didn't see it in highlights. A bit of fuss about this. In fairness, the Mike Haley challenge on Halamalis. Yellow card on the night. Any more thoughts on that one? How did you read it at the time, Sean?
At the time, I think I can't remember, but I think I called it. I thought it was about right. I thought it was enough mitigation that the player was falling. However, I called it reckless, and I think that's how I used on commentary, reckless. You know, it was lucky because, you know, it was a dangerous thing. It was so reckless that he could have just piled in head on head, and that's what we don't want, really, I suppose. And there was no real need because Conway had done so well, but Haley comes across like all good fullbacks to smash the last man into touch and just got it a bit wrong, you know. Yeah, and I you know, just taking your point about tries and all the hoo-ha around, looking at them again. Do you know what? Now as a commentator, it sort of takes the wind out of your sails as a commentator as well.
Yeah, I know.
Because a try happens, and my job as a co-comms is to wait for the head commentator to call the try, then the replays kick in, and I go to town then. I try and illustrate, you know, how it was created, what pieces of skill. But it's almost like I got to wait now because I can't I can't sort of, you know, blow out all of my feelings and rhetoric and insight, if you like, because it might get disallowed.
I think what's also quite evident as well is it's nice when the commentators have a sort of elevation to the pitch that slowly goes up with their voice.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, oh my God, and then of course that's all removed. That's just all Control Z did at the end. It's like, oh, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because you're right. I'd never thought of it in the commentator's point of view. And actually, for anyone who watches games, for example, on, let's say you might get the air feed as opposed to the Premier feed if you're based in Ireland, you don't get as much Sean Holley as you otherwise might. Sean Holley is a commentator not from the Eddie Butler school.
No,
Sean, Holley
brings
is
the energy.
excited. There's a lot of energy,
what you want,
to a Holley
Because
co-camps.
I'm genuinely excited. I love it. I
Oh.
do. I love it.
Yeah.
No, it's gonna be good. Haley, I on another day, I don't think he gets that mitigation. I can understand why he did get the mitigation, but you're an interesting choice of word, reckless, because reckless is a term of art in the game. You don't get away with it for being reckless. You get away with it for other things if it's a pure rugby accident and it's just one of those things. But rough one, right? We will move on, I think. Saturday's games. So we lost Ulster Scarlets. These things happen in COVID times. Scarlets were awarded the victory. We then moved to one which we were really looking forward to, because this was a big game. This was knockout for Connacht. And they were knocked out, but it was a very good game, I thought. Benetton 20, Connacht 12. And the one thing I wanted to mention, first of all, I was absolutely gutted when switching this game on. Dennis Buckley leads the team out for his 200th appearance for Connacht. And almost directly from the kickoff, he wins a turnover and does his knee. It was such a rough start to proceedings, Paul.
I joined it late and then couldn't see him, and I didn't know what had happened. It was, I mean, I think it was their performance of the season. This is the game everyone's been saying, they've beaten Zebra and, they beat a poor Glasgow performance. But if you're beating Connacht, you're doing everything right. I thought on the weekend they scrummaged fantastically, as we mentioned with Kieran Crowley. To get 7 scrummaging penalties, Sean, that's a lot, isn't it? Normally, a team would look to concede 8 to 10 penalties in a match, let alone. And I think it allowed them to get a lot of ball in midfield. Brex was fantastic. Zanon was really good, and you don't often see a Connacht's midfield dominated, but it was Brex went through there on the outside. Looked like he was lacking a little bit of gas when he went through initially, but did make it in.
I was wondering, was that one of those funny camera angle things?
No, it wasn't.
He looked as if he was hitting the line, and then suddenly he was like, "Where's fourth gear? I cannot find it."
He just slowed up, but they did a lot of damage in midfield. They were Zanon and Brex. They were all over the place, And like we say, Connacht, normally that's one of their strengths. They've got a rotation of 4 or 5 in midfield who really get the job done. Look at the power! Imagine doing that, running sideways and not going backwards. So they were fantastic. Garbisi kicked really well in the end. He missed 1 or 2 that I thought he would kick, but I think that's the sign of how much he's improved now. With a little setback, and he sort of. He manages to rectify it. Monteoane was electric as always, but they sort of saw it out with penalties really in the second half. It was a really enjoyable game though.
It was, and you're right, Paul. It is a mark that you beat Connacht.
It is, isn't it?
It was difficult. It's difficult. They're difficult to beat because they never go away. But I tell you a guy who's a bit of an unsung hero, and that's Toa Halafihi, the number 8.
He was fantastic.
Great,
again, 13 carries, 13 tackles, which in the context of the game, and it was interesting listening to Kieran Crowley, talking about the front fives. If you look at the contributions of their front fives plus Sebastian Negri every week, and then you throw in Halafihi and his contribution, you can see why they're improving. You see Halafihi at 8, organising, give it to me, Duvenage. There was a period in the game, and I don't know if we're going to see it, and where Connacht broke away, and it was that could have been the game changer. And I have a view on that, but we'll wait until we see it.
We've got that separate deal come up.
Yeah, Garbisi for me, I put him in my team of the week this week because I think he's more than just electric, fleet of foot, try things now, Paul. He's kicked 2 weeks in a row really well. He's got tricky little kicks. He looks so confident.
He's hard as well. He's a tough 10.
Yeah.
You see him, like, when he goes into contact, he throws up a fend, even if he doesn't need to. He's got that, like Johnny Wilkinson, banging into contact. I really like it.
Yeah.
And here's the red card, and it was funny. I was watching this live, and it's funny when you see the lead up to it. The referee stops play. The touch judge, assistant referee, I still call them touchies, has a flag out, and immediately Bundyaki starts turning around and giving out to
Yes.
the touch judge.
Yeah.
But once you saw the second angle, you're going, he is in trouble. There's an angle when you see it from this touch line,
Yeah.
much closer in, and you're going, listen, you're starting too high and you're rising. It's not a good tackle technique.
Well, when's this guy going to learn?
This is the thing, because 2 weeks in a row we've sort of mentioned that he was getting used to the Union tackle heights.
We did, yeah.
And then he does that because he doesn't even bend his legs really.
He'd been on
really
5 minutes. It wasn't like he was tired or lazy. He'd been on 5 minutes.
Yeah, he just jammed him straight in the chin.
That was actually funny. So in the WhatsApp group on the day, I'd kind of forgotten that Paul was watching it on delay, but he wasn't. He was catching up.
Yeah, it was.
Saying, happily red card. And he's gone, what? He's not even on yet.
Yeah, he was on about 61 minutes. So what? He hasn't even come on.
Yeah,
and
it was a very.
And he said he's been on 6 minutes. He's already gone off with a red.
It was a very good game. Garbisi, Zanon, and Brex as a midfield I mean, that would give you the warm and fuzzies as an Italian rugby fan, because they were doing really nice things out there. Zanon was on one. He was making really nice things happen, and Garbisi was just doing Garbisi things. He was great to watch. And do you know what? Again, Kieran Crowley, and if you came in late to the show, we have Kieran Crowley in for the first 15 or 20 minutes. It's a really nice chat with him. And he did reference that one of the things he wanted Benetton to do was just to trust yourself, to enjoy yourself, support each other. And you just see that with the way they're playing at the moment. There's always options for the man with the ball.
Can I also just give a special mention to Jaden Hayward, right? Because I know he's not the fastest of fullbacks and he lacks that little bit of gas to break through. But the amount of players and counterattacks that he starts, he's like having a 10 playing at 15 from deep. He's so calm and controlled that he'll just run into near contact, pop a little pass out. What a fantastic player.
He's very important to them. Yeah, the weather really changed at halftime in that game as well. It was absolutely, and this is a technical term, it was peeing it down in Treviso. Yeah, that was a good game. I do want to pull up one thing, because Connacht brought a lot to this game as well. They started the game really well. This game could have gone differently at a number of different critical points. There was a huge goal line stand from Benetton just before halftime, where Connacht were pounding away at that line, and I really thought Connacht were going to get the base of the post. They were obviously working it there. They came back in the second half again, but in the first half there was an amazing breakout from a Benetton line out. This is only about 15 minutes in. If we have the tape, we'll roll it in the background. Here we go. And this would have been one of the tries of the season if it had gone through. So if you're watching this back, we'll try and describe it for listening. Benetton looked to have the ball. They never have the ball here. That's the genius thing. When you look at the replay from behind the goal line, Connacht stole it instantly, and Benetton hadn't realised that no one had the ball. It was amazing. And then Connacht just ripped it up the line. Kieran Marmion with a Pete Maravich behind his own back to the supporting runner. It was brilliant rugby, and I was dying for them to score. Absolutely dying for it, Paul.
Yeah, that's quality rugby. That little inside ball from Marmion. That's sexual. It's a hell of a ball. Fair play.
What was good was Paul Boyle, number 8. On the next phase, he sees the hole, and he just flattens up and takes the space into the gap, and then Daly, the centre, takes over. But I've got a theory on this. I don't know if super producer Adam can. Yeah, he's done it. So this is the line that comes up now. Marmion clears out. He has to. Bundyaki goes into 9, and Boyle flattens up because there's a huge gap, and that's great. Now Daly's there, and that's a great offload off the floor. Now Wootton was looking for another offload. Now there's a little short pass. Bundyaki got up, and there's 2 runners coming. Now I think it's Duvenage, the 9, that gets penalised. I think this is a professional foul. I think this is yellow card. To go 85 metres, 5 metre to 5 metre, or 90 metres, sorry, right, with that speed of ball.
And it suddenly slows down
and it's
right on the 5-yard line.
Hello. It's not by accident that's happened. Sorry. No. So for me, that's a yellow card. Lovely play,
true
though.
enough. Beautiful.
I
isn't
was
it?
go-
Look at that
I
little
was
ball. Oh,
I gift that during the game, and I was just staring at it on my phone, going,
it's really nice.
I'm
isn't
just
it?
going to watch this on a loop again and again and again. It was gorgeous. I loved
But
it.
that shows you how well Benetton have done to beat them, though. Because if they're capable of rugby like that, which they have been all season, and let's not forget they've beaten all of the big Irish provinces away. If Benetton have beaten them, I think they deserve. If they get to the final, they deserve it.
7-5 there. They score there, right? 14-5, and they go
Yeah.
down to 14 men. That's a different game.
Game over.
It's a cynical penalty. It should have been a yellow card. But if you're in the Benetton camp, you're like, happy with that.
Let's move on.
If Benetton to stop that try would have absolutely given up yellow card and 3 points.
Yes, I agree.
100% would have given that up. But we must go back to Paul's point. Who he's talking with Kieran here on. Benetton minced on that scrum. They got a yellow card out of it.
Unbelievable.
Was brought off, and they were really good, and that was a really important part of that win for Benetton rugby. It was really good. So they continue. We'll get to the tables later on. One more game to go in the games that were last weekend. Dragons 16. This was at Cardiff City. Dragons 16. Glasgow Warriors 27.
Changes.
There's an awesome try coming here. We can just talk about
great
various
game.
things, including Richard Hibbert's haircut.
Summer rugby.
Yeah, nice pitch, wasn't it? We could have had a final there, lads.
This is some pretty poor defense. I don't think Danny's going to be too happy with this. It's well executed, but again, look, we got Ali Price. We've identified this. Ali Price is at the front. All right, and now we've got Nick Grigg flying in and gets it all wrong. That's an easy training ground move.
Don't often see that.
No, it's pretty poor. We'll see it from behind. Look at Grigg. He steps in and creates an extra defender that's not needed at all, and easy for Nyron Owen to come in. But Glasgow, we've got to credit Glasgow boys. They were right under the cosh when they towards the end of the Guinness Pro 14 regular season. And Danny's turned them around. I don't think it's any secret that the likes of Grigg and Johnson in the centre. For me, Adam Hastings has had a good couple of weeks. George Turner at 2 is almost playing like a guy waiting for an injury in Warren Gatland's British and Irish Lions squad.
Look at this.
And I've unearthed, not Danny Wilson, I've unearthed the next Hamish Watson. His name is Rory Daj. I think it's Rory Daj.
Yeah, Daj. Yeah, he played well, didn't he?
He's brilliant again. That's 2 weeks in a row. And wow.
Can we talk more about this try here, though?
No.
Because this
What's
is
great
the one.
is Sean always says about double interactions, doesn't he, Sean?
Yes.
And that's Turner twice, isn't it?
Yeah, Turner twice. And there's your 10. Getting a second touch.
Bang.
Gold. If 10s are scoring tries like that, then they're reading the game. They're not organising, waiting to get into position. Look at him. He's coming on to the ball. Good kid, this boy. Ross Thompson.
And
I like that
Price
pop.
is,
I love the pop and drop I do from Turner. That little drop is so perfect.
Turner's class, but right here, Price continuing that around to allow Turner to have his second touch was just a real awareness of space. It was just fantastic.
I tell you what, if the Hurricanes had scored that on the weekend, right, we'd all be going mental.
Well, I'm going mental, but I'm only one guy.
Just one man.
Yeah. It was good. It was a very tight game, and there was nothing here for the Dragons, and that it's a testament to Dean and the team that they ran Glasgow very close, and it looks 27-16 is much wider because of the very end of the game. This is the third Glasgow try. It's 43 and a bit minutes in. There was no more Glasgow scoring for a long, long time, and you could feel everything get very tight.
Yeah.
It was a very tight ending. Can I make a very superficial point that I've put in my column? Is that I don't think you should be allowed to have 2 players in the same team with iconic haircuts. So Adam Hastings, right, and Johnson have both got that. It's really confusing because for one moment I thought Adam Hastings just suddenly loved crashing up the middle, and that Johnson was miles out of position defensively. So if you can get that sorted out, Adam, that would be good.
We need rules. Another trial law in the Rainbow Cup, something to do with haircuts. And I'll go one further. We need confusing scrum caps as well.
Yeah, that's another thing. Or if you are both going to have blonde hair, then you have to have your number painted onto the top of your skull.
What? One thing I'm going to say, Sam Davies, I like when players do very smart things. So Dragons were 9 points behind. I think it was in the last 10 minutes, probably in the last 5 minutes, actually. They got awarded a kickable penalty, and he took the quickest kickable penalty you will see. He hardly even waited for the tee to get on the deck, and he just clipped it over. It was smart play. I love seeing that.
Was. Do you know, I had a big row in Gowton RFC about this once, that you should always take the penalty if you need to score more than 7, because you can theoretically score a try from anywhere, but you can't kick a goal from anywhere. That's my logic. Sean,
there's one big change to that. One law change.
What's that?
The law changed when they said that you can take the line out with time up. That changed.
Sure enough.
A lot of the stuff. We're going to put look, we had a couple of comments here. Sam Laycock, I'll read out one of them. I don't agree with the other. Forgetting the 3 disallowed tries. We should mention the disallowed tries, but they were disallowed. The dodgy TMO, no. No, that wasn't part of this game. It was weird. I didn't like the captain's challenge at the end of this game, though. It wasn't the worst one ever. But we'll just challenge a try, because it might have been a forward pass. Ewan Davis, the offloading this weekend has been insane. Benetton and Glasgow scores here with fantastic offloads and playing great rugby. There was a lot of good offloads.
Yeah, there's a lot of offloads in the Guinness Pro 14, let alone the Rainbow Cup. By comparison to other leagues, a lot of the stats go. And we're not biased. Yes, we are biased, but stats don't lie sometimes, and there's a lot of stats going in our favour, and offloading is one of them, and it's been great. And I think the weather has been a little bit better. The shackles are off a little bit. It's a chance for one team to challenge for silverware and just go for it. Young players given an opportunity. They're in the shop window for things like summer internationals. Lions, look at George Turner. I think he's playing out of his skin. But how many Lions we'll see now in the last couple of games, I'm not so sure.
I think the other thing that's helped is because there are a lot of Lions selected, obviously, some of the senior and really young players have now got a chance to go with their nation. So like Josh Turnbull could go with Wales, couldn't he, theoretically, as a senior player on that tour? I'm not suggesting he will. But, a Nyrian Owen, for instance, at the Dragons might be thinking, I might get on that tour now.
Yeah.
So it's...
it's not a tour. They're playing home, aren't they? But
yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, the inverted tour.
Yeah.
That's my second Argentinian mistake of the show. It's going well.
That was a Uruguayan mistake.
Comment from Sean Mayo, interesting one, and I think a fair one. Any thoughts on how the Pro 16 can improve the highlights packages and overall broadcasting ahead of the new season? 3-minute YouTube highlights isn't enough considering they miss key plays, etc., but show 10s converting tries. Yeah, I've heard this mentioned before, and do you know what? I think it's fair. Now, I know it's something that we've discussed in the background a couple of times, because there's some stuff we don't have control over anything. Well, I have control over nothing. But producer Adam, Sean, producer Adam will come on to the show, and we're going to run through some of the plans for the future, which will happen next year,
and cool
include highlights. Okay, because I think it's really important that, and this is my personal view, I think it's really important that your highlights really showcase the very best of what your league, your games have, and your sport has. Because that's how you can get casual fans interested. McGeady, the future will happen next year. Yeah, I butchered it.
I got to be honest.
Come on.
We have seen a level up in Guinness Pro 14's social media this year. If you follow on Instagram, there's good stories, there's quirky little things about tries. You get good, up to date interaction as games are going on. there's the player of the match is listed. But yeah, you're right, mate. You know, and we can't give too much away, can we? We have had little insight, and it's very, very exciting.
Yeah, it is.
And that of course, by the very nature of the competition, next year will ramp up again. So, you know, and I think from a broadcasting point of view as well, that's going to ramp up as well. You know, Premier Sports have done a decent job, but next year I'd imagine it'll go up a different level again. And obviously with the South Africans in the Rainbow Cup, we've seen, you know, a different way of broadcasting, the South African commentators and so on. So that cross-fertilization is only going to improve that. And as the competition increases, so will the footage. So, yeah, I don't think we have anything to worry about there.
Yeah, well, we will continue doing this. From the start of doing this podcast, the one thing we wanted to do is to actually cover the league as a whole. Okay, cover the championship as a whole, because you know it's the nature of it. The Irish papers and the Irish shows will concentrate on the Irish teams, the Welsh the same, the Scottish the same, right? There's not really many places where you can get that championship-wide view. It's something we're really conscious of, and yes, we're two Welsh lads and an Irish fella, but you know we'll do our best, and we'll have some more people coming onto the show as well, and I think you're going to enjoy it.
But you know, in our defence, and yeah, you know, in our defence, we've got some pretty good experience here of
I was going to say
of all of the teams, you know, all of the teams, the journalistic coverage, you know, between us, we watch every minute of every game. You know, we trawl across all the stuff. So nationality will come into it for insight, but we've just had the new Italy coach on, the Benetton head coach, who were top of the Rainbow Cup. You know, we have Greg Garner on to talk about law. We have serious guests come on all of the time. And we you know, yes, we've got a little bit of our favourite. I worked at Welsh teams for years, but, you know, nobody talks more about Leinster than me.
Oh, that's right.
You know what I mean?
That's totally
you know?
right. Yeah.
And I love Benetton, and you know, Zebra, Paul loves, and so on. So, you know, we do try to be impartial, and at the end of the day, half baked or not, is, you know, it's just creating opinion and comment, which is great.
I always hope the thing that comes through is that we really enjoy rugby, because sometimes you listen to some podcasts and you don't know whether they do or whether they're even watching it. Whereas, you know, we are three out and out rugby nerds.
Well, that's true. We did watch alongs of another entire championship just because we wanted to watch rugby together.
7 o'clock in the morning.
It served a purpose. But look, go back to the main point that our commenter raised, Sean Mayo. Yeah, I think we hear you. Personally, I think there's definitely room for improvement. I'm looking forward to getting Adam on to talk about some of the improvements for the future, which coincides with next year. Holley's Heroes, it's your time to shine, Sean Holley.
Here he comes. What's he got this week?
Well, I get 3 games.
And 13.
You know, I watch these games, and it's a bit like coaching selection, you know, because, you know, when I used to pick a team, the players who were not picked would come and knock my door, or I would knock their door, and we'd go through and explain, and we'd agree to disagree or whatever. Except it's not individuals knocking my door now; it's thousands of fans of teams that disagree with me. You know, you know? So. Look, Adam Hastings, I've mentioned. I just think his contribution's good, and I'm pleased for a player like him that he's come back after some ups and downs. Conway, I didn't do man of the match on Premier on Friday. It was the Air Sport. Whoever did that, I was lauding Conway on Premier Sports, and he got man of the match. I thought he was brilliant in all the sort of unseen stuff, all the less sexy stuff. You know, Paul. Chasing kicks, winning them in the air, chasing back, last-ditch tackles. Deolander, we've already mentioned. Powerhouse. Great signing. Zanon, we've mentioned, and, you know, his contribution. He was given player of the match as well. Now, on the left wing, I could have gone for a couple of others, but I just think it's difficult for the British and Irish Lions squad guys. Can you imagine their mindset? What's around the corner? And yet they turn up and play. Some of them ask to play. They want to play to keep in form, which is right. But then to contribute, you know, off your wing, 12 carries,
Yeah.
6 defenders beaten, pain in the backside for Munster. So I put Josh Adams in for that. Garbisi, well, this is the Garbisi show. Thomas Williams for his 2 tries because his support lines were fantastic. Halafihi, we mentioned, I think his contribution. Darge for Glasgow, I think they've unearthed another one. I think, and then Danny's going with him. He's very Hamish Watson-like in his, not just his appearance, but his sort of combative, bustling play. There was a bit of a sentimental selection for CJ Stander, and yet he's made the most tackles of any back rower in the weekend's games. 17. He puts a hell of a shift in all the time. And whether we like it or not, he had the presence of mind for that captain's challenge, even though Peter Romani thought he was captain when he came on, and that was annoying me a little bit, but that's another thing. Finnan, there wasn't great second row contributions as there normally was this week. So that's why I've gone for Screech, because his contribution in a departing shot, because he's moving from the Dragons to the Cardiff Blues, he was excellent and won 5 or 6 clear lineouts, contributed around the field. So it didn't go on a whimper, went out with a thanks for the memory sort of thing, even on a losing team. Xander Ferguson is in the same bracket as Josh Adams for me. Turner was by far, I think, and Gaggio, who Paul wants to play for Italy, but is obviously going to play for Argentina.
Blaming Adam Redmond for that. I'd done my research on that, and I was spun around halfway. I don't think you can argue with any of that.
You and Davis is arguing. No Treviso props from a scrum that won loads of pens and got the opposition a yellow.
Yeah, Gaggio.
One prop.
Why not put him both in?
No.
Do you know the big thing I was saying on the weekend is how Gloucester will be really happy with Hastings performing well at 15 because they've got a player there now that can double up.
That's all right, Ewan. It's okay, Ewan. It's all right. So I wasn't getting ratty. I do like Gerard Fitzpatrick. I know Lenzer didn't play, but Hugo Keenan in the team. That's class. I should have had Scott Penny in there as well, shouldn't I? He's had a great week of training, apparently.
I just my personal favorite when I saw this was just saying Williams as Cardiff 9. That just covers all your bases and you move on.
Yeah.
We'll go to the tables, I think, for the week because we'll get to the fixtures, but the tables are now very, very important. Adam, can we throw up the South African one first? Because the South African teams are returning this week into action after this Northern only.
Anything can happen in that.
Yeah, after the Lions.
Well, actually, it's got very tight since Paul declared his support for the Sharks.
He's like sunk the Sharks. He's like killed off the Sharks as a species.
Then a lot of things started to go wrong really from there. So we got the Vodacom Bulls on top with 15 points. They had been cruising, and then things happened. The Stormers 1-2, lost 2, 11 points. Sharks similar record 1-2, lost 2, but with a much poorer points difference with 11 points. The Lions still in it theoretically now with that win, 1-1. But 8 points. Now, this is going to be interesting. So we have some interesting fixtures coming up now this weekend. We've got the Bulls against the Stormers. That's on Friday evening, which is I love this 6 o'clock UK and Ireland time for a game.
Nice,
beautiful. That's at Loftus Versfeld. That is a big game. And if you are a Lions fan or you just want to see things go to the wire, you really want the Stormers to win that game. I, of course, am neutral and can say nothing. Go Stormers. And then we have the Emirates Lions against the Cell C Sharks, which I'm getting better at saying. That's at 3 p.m. UK time. That's 4 p.m. South African time on Saturday from Emirates Airlines Park in Johannesburg. Lions, you need to win. If the Bulls have already won, then Sharks, you just really need to win.
That could be an attack fest.
Good. I foresee a lot of points in that game either way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll go, Adam will throw up the table for the northern side of the Rainbow Cup now. I'm making them work. Benetton remain top. Only 100% record on either hemisphere in the Rainbow Cup. Played 4-1 for 18 points, but Munster and Glasgow are hot on their heels. won 3, lost 1 each, 15 points, but Munster effectively have an extra point in the bag here because they could have 51-point advantage in points difference versus Glasgow. Glasgow played Leinster in their final game. Ospreys, 10 points, but with a game in hand. They've only played 3. Then Cardiff Blues and Scarlets, 10 points, with played 4, so they're gone in terms of making the final. Leinster still alive because they have 9 points, but they have only played 3 games. So we're getting very interested here. Connacht gone after that loss, 9 points from 4 games. Dragons 7, Edinburgh 5, Zebre 3, Ulster 3. And now to the games for this weekend on the northern side of the Guinness Pro 14 Rainbow Cup.
It's great, isn't it? Because there's some teams need favours from other teams.
Exactly. Do you know what's amazing is how Glasgow are in third, having been thumped in the opening.
I know.
Game.
It's a really quiet third place. Yeah. Can you imagine they get to the final?
And they were mauled in the first game.
They were absolutely mullered. Connacht Ospreys. So this now is Ospreys are still alive. Ospreys need to travel to the sports ground, get that win to keep themselves going. Connacht can really annoy Sean.
Well, sorry, I was drifting there because, as you well know, and our regular listeners, that's the fixture I always used to dream of and look for when the fixtures came out at the start of the season. Oh, when am I going to Galway? I can't wait to see Michael Bradley and a pint of Guinness. Forget what the score was. We're going out for a few beers with Brads in Galway. Fantastic. But anyway, no, I think the Ospreys, Connacht are out, aren't they? Yeah, essentially.
Yep. Plan to make the final.
Yeah.
So, hello, some guys are on holiday, some guys are on pre-season, some guys are resting because of summer rugby, Ireland. Ospreys have the added incentive of they played Benetton last game.
Yeah, so that
at
could
home.
be big.
Ospreys, it could be in Ospreys' hands. Dare I say?
Could be. We'll get to some of those round 6 fixtures because they are important for the context here. Glasgow, who we have said are a very sneaky third place here. Leinster travel to Scottstown. That's
mid-table
on,
Leinster
Friday as well. Mid-table Leinster, but alive.
I don't think I've ever said that before.
If I were a betting man,
yeah, and you are,
I might look at that game and suggest there will be more than 60 points in the game total.
It makes a lot of, if you were, given how this is going, right, it makes a lot of sense for you to sort of say, can we just score 4 tries each immediately, right?
Just give you 4 each.
Yeah, and we'll just start from there.
Yeah, we'll have 4 line up more tries each, and then we'll get on with it.
Exactly, yeah. Call it quits. The game starts for real at the 20-minute mark. That's going to be a very interesting game. We haven't seen Leinster in a while. This is going to be good. Right, Saturday, 5th of June, Edinburgh against Ulster. There's not much really going on in that game, bar anyone who might be Lions-ish. Cardiff Blues against Zebre. Cardiff can't get into the final. That's where we are now. So let's go to the round 6 fixtures because this is coming up very fast next week. Zebre against Munster.
That's the one there. Can Zebre do everybody a favour? Don't know. Munster too strong, I think. But, leaking a few points recently, Munster. Zebre, as we know, playing really, really well. There's Leinster's incentive. A home tie against a Dragons team who are out. It's just so many ifs and buts. It's brilliant.
And if Ospreys win this weekend, we set up an absolute belter. Ospreys Benetton on Saturday the 12th of June and Saturday evening. That would be fantastic if that becomes a de facto, winner takes all.
I'm sensing a watch along coming on, bud.
Live
a super Saturday. A super Saturday.
I'm sensing a producer comment coming up saying there's no budget, should be doing it for free.
I'm going to do with budgets.
Then Scarlets play Edinburgh on the Sunday, and Scarlets they'll be playing.
Isn't it great though that at the end of the Rainbow Cup that it's turned out like this?
Yeah.
with COVID and all the problems, and it looked like it would be a washout and wouldn't mean anything. And now it means everything. And now the last two games, you're going to win something, and you're going to play in a final against the South Africans.
I'm kind of okay with anyone getting to the final. I'm more okay with Benetton getting to the final
I
than
want
anyone
that
else.
to happen.
Okay, but I'm kind of okay with everyone. Yeah, budget's blah, costs blah, Williams image rights. That's true. It's very, very expensive.
Budget smudget.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. We've got 2 more weeks to go before we see who gets that final on the 19th. It's going to be good. Okay, we're really are almost there to the end of it. I did see Chiefs girl come into the comments. Hello, good to see you again. This is from our watch long days, folks.
She's having a breakfast.
She was asking about the Trans-Tasman.
Paul, we did talk about this. I think you've been writing about it for another outlet. Yeah, it's not been good, is it?
No, it hasn't. They finally got one victory, and even that was Kieran Crowley mentioned it. That was narrow because the Chiefs came back massively in the second half. But yeah, there is a bit of a gap there.
Yeah, Chiefs girl says she was hoping for a bit more from the Oz teams. I think so were the Oz teams.
I think that the good thing with the Oz teams, though, it's almost like that Italian rebuild. There's a lot of really good young Australian players, but they're just 2, 3, 4 years behind.
And then they will go to league. Kellex, Gallo was in the 60 or 70 man squad for the Argentina of players that were being considered, but he didn't make the Argentina 32 man squad.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Look.
There you go. Have a bit of a.
We were both wrong and right.
Pass around the bucket. Sean Mayo, what are the chances of Sharks giving Paul a supporter contract extension ahead of the full season?
Yeah, I don't think that'll be happening.
They're not
like
good.
There'd be more chance of me going for tea with Putin.
I do think, though, that if you are a Glasgow, an Ospreys, a Munster, or a Leinster fan, you should be finding a way to get Paul to wear a Treviso shirt very soon.
It's rugby voodoo. Yeah, it's proven.
You need that. Silent Wraith. Hi, Paul. Do you still use Instagram?
No. Do you know, I never have, really. I dabbled with it, but Twitter is the best place for the written word.
No one wants to see photos of tennis rackets today.
No. Or stupid shoes. Or me dyeing my beard.
Man, I gotta be honest. Get on Instagram. Come on, you'd be awesome. Some of the clobber you string together and wear out in the public
I'll have
domain.
A little go. I might re-emerge on Insta.
It would be like an Adamant meets
Liberace.
David Bowie / Liberace Instagram page. That's what it would be.
I'll give it a go.
Question here from Dean Purcell. It's a good one. Is there a team that are in contention for the final? So that is Benetton, Glasgow, Ospreys, Munster and Leinster, who we think would struggle more than the others against a South African side.
Well, if we're talking about scrummaging, Benetton will do all right, given the weekend.
We're back to that nervousness now around
who would put up the best fight.
Clearly, I know Benetton are top, and we're all rooting for them. Yeah. But they played Zebra twice, a poor Glasgow, and Connacht at home.
Yeah,
just because of the way the fixtures for this Rainbow Cup. If we're honest, if everybody's honest with themselves,
Munster's
an informed Leinster or Munster would be the best match. But it's not the way it works. If Benetton get there, they'll have home advantage.
And that's the other thing.
They are, and they have a winning team. They have 1,000 fans there. They have a winning team momentum, an Italy coach. So, yeah.
I have a different spin on this. I think that Munster and Leinster, yes, they're going to match up best. Okay, that's the predictable thing. I don't think Treviso are the weakest. I don't think Benetton on the week. I think Glasgow, because they wouldn't have that home advantage.
Yeah.
I don't think Glasgow have been playing that well. They've been playing some good stuff, but I don't think they're set up to take on those guys just right now.
What I'd love to happen is Benetton to make it and then to win it, and then all casual South African fans will just assume that Benetton are one of the best teams in Europe forever from this point forward. It'd be amazing.
Brilliant.
Ospreys could easily get to the final. Yes, they could.
Yeah.
They could.
They could get to the final.
The crucial thing is that Connacht beat Munster. That's thrown, a spanner in the works. Munster go to Zebra. You'd expect them to win, but Zebra make it difficult. So it's the Ospreys. If they can go to Galway and not focus on Guinness and having a great time in a great city, then they could win. And then they have Benetton at home, so it's in their hands.
Mm-hmm.
It could be. But then there's so many ifs and buts.
I know.
Around
That's why
that.
it's cool.
Yeah.
Cameron Peary, Ross Thompson kicking masterclass in the final. I can see it already.
Go Warriors.
Well, that's it. If you got Thompson and Rufus McLean on their day, and Adam Hastings, doing Adam Hastings things that he is absolutely capable of doing. Yes, they could do it. It's gonna be good, and we're gonna have another week now of some good knockouts, 'cause that's what they are for teams.
What is he doing now?
Adam, I know where this comes from. Adam does not like permutations and talk about what else. He's just like, just play the games. We'll talk about them afterwards. I love it. I love talking about permutations and what might happen. I absolutely love it. And that's why.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's great. For those of you listening back, there's a CNN election Mac in it with what's his name, King, in the background. Because I love that stuff. It's good. I think we've done this show. I think we have had Kieran Crowley. We have had some good highlights. We've talked about captain's challenges. We've talked about the potential for better highlights on the show. So watch this space for that. Thank you, Kieran Crowley. Thank you, Sean Holley. Thank you, Paul Williams. Thank you to all the people who tune in every week. And if it is your first time, this is kind of how we roll. A little loose, but that's what we do. Thanks for all the commenters across the Guinness Pro 14 social channels. Thank you to Loch Lomond Whiskies for sponsoring the Coach of the Month for April and May. And the winner was Kieran Crowley, who was very good at the start of the show. That was Under the Sticks, a podcast brought to you by the Pro 14. I'm Andy McGeady. We'll talk to you soon.